No. And I don't know if any madhab says you can pay zakah on those. I don't know. Again, we are in the school of Imam Muhammad. In the school of Imam Muhammad, you don't. Right? So, but on that final product, then, or anything that is going to be final product, that can be sugar, flour, salt, wheat, or all these things, I have to pay. Good. Those are, I have to pay 2.5%. But sometimes this is what it is. Look, I sell books. I bought books from you for $10, and I'm going to sell to you for $15. Now, there's a trade good. For example, now, and the thing is that in the Shafi'i school, when you're engaging in that business, you have to have the intention that I am purchasing this product. My intention is to do what? To sell it. Not I purchase it to use it, it's okay. That is for my own self-consumption, then no zakah is due. But the moment my intention is to purchase it so that I can do what? I can sell to the consumer. Now at that moment it becomes what? It becomes a trade good, and which is going to be zakatable at the same amount. Okay, now the example you're giving, a book for $10, selling it to you 15. What amount is going to be zakatable? The 10 or the 15?
What you sold.
Huh?
What you sold.
What I sold for 15? Okay. Any other dissenting opinion? Any?
Well, I mean,
Okay, say.
I mean, it says the wholesale price there.
So in the Shafi'i school, actually I've seen another opinion that, right? They say especially if the profit margin is high, if the profit margin is really high, then some of the scholars within our modern scholars, of course, within our madhab, they say, okay, the 15, that's what we tax. But the madhab is known to be, we will tax on what? When I say tax, zakah, sorry. We will zakah on what?
On the price of
$10, right? We'll zakah on the $10. That's what we're going to zakah on. Because they're saying there's different reasons why they say that. Let's say the moment you purchase it and when you sold it, sometimes when you sell value, sometimes you have to even sell it, the product you're not selling good, you have to sell it at even lower value than you got. Sale price and whatever this is. So that's why they put into consideration to make it easy in general for the entire trade good, then we will base it on the official wholesale price. But you will see other madhahib will say, actually, no, we will ask you and investigate, okay, are you willing to sell it on a wholesale price yourself, or are you selling at a retail price? Then you'll say at a wholesale price, then you'll say, okay, we'll charge your zakah is on the wholesale price. But for the person for retail, the zakah will be on retail. What if I have both? Then they will say you have to distribute both. But in the Shafi'i school, it's on the wholesale price. And now the thing is now the example we gave is either the bakery or the books. So should I give the zakah 2.5% of the book or the bakery, or am I going to pay the equivalent money for those? What am I going to do? Give both. So for example, okay, I have 20 books, 2.5% of 20 is what? 100. I have 100 books. 2.5% is what? Of 100? Is what? 2.5. So I'll give him, or whoever is zakah eligible, I'll give them 2 books and then cut 1.5 and then give it to them. Is that how it is? No, because you say both, right? I can do both, okay? Instead of cutting the book, I'll give him the 2 books plus, we say $10, right? $5. So I'm giving him 2 books plus $5, which is going to make me give him both.
there may be money
So in the madhab,
For poor people, you know.
right, in the madhab, we're going to give the equivalent of that. 2.5 books is what? 10, 10, 20, and 5, 25. So we'll give zakah out as $25, not in kind. I'm not going to give him 2.5 bread. No, I'm going to give him the equivalent of the bread. The bread is, let's say, $3. 3 plus 3 plus 1.5. I'm going to give him $7.
Can you
And
give me goods?
no.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So generally in the Shafi'i school, isn't giving it like in food products like preferred? Or like in kind, isn't that preferred?
No. So that one is for, remember when we said what are the types of the things that? Agricultural produce, yes. We're talking about what? Trade goods. Trade, even though the agricultural produce, I can give it in kind. Okay? The animals, remember, we said, how many things are properties, 4 types of property? Money, agricultural, which is date and all these things. Those I can give in kind. Or the animal, right, I can give that in kind.
How about cash?
Cash, cash I give it in kind, which is cash for cash.
Okay, so you don't give like rice or whatever for cash. You would give it in actual cash.
Yeah, in actual cash.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than, for those, you give it in itself.
So the reason I'm asking is because I know, I guess I was at a masjid and I don't know what school he followed, but people were bringing rice to the masjid for their zakat.
But not zakat, they're bringing for maybe zakat al-fitr,
Okay, maybe so.
right? They're bringing for zakat al-fitr is different,
Okay.
right? Than them, okay, look, I have gold, right? I have gold, it's above the nisab. The gold is equivalent to, let's say, $20 of I'm supposed to give in zakah. Okay, let me go buy rice for $20 and then give it to the sheikh. No, I cannot do that. For gold and all these things, I have to give it in terms of currency, trade good currency. But for the agricultural produce and the animal, I can give it in what? In kind, and it's better to do so. But sometimes, if it's difficult for the receiver, then it's going to be meaningless to them. Then it's what? It's preferred to do what at that moment? Currency, good. Now, but that brings us to another question now is what? Zakatul Fitr. When you see people giving at the masjid in kind, meaning that they give the sa of rice to the masjid, this is what they do. And what is preferred is in kind. But now, sometimes we have something called fiqh al-waqi, the fiqh of the reality that we are in. I bring to Dar Al-Hijrah like a hand of rice. What are they going to do with it?
I mean, they could give it to people that, are in need. They could.
Maybe. But how is logistically, how easy is it?
I don't think it's that difficult, really.
It's,
Just give a bag of rice to people.
no, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, especially in the Shafi'i school. You have to find all the recipients, but that is for another day. So, yes.
So if you, let's say the minimum is 2.5, is that one, right?
2.5 is what I'm supposed to give.
You give extra, but you have the niyyah of giving that amount, is that okay?
Yeah, the 2.5 is going to be zakat. The extra, inshallah, is sadaqah,
Same as
charity.
the fitr, so?
Yeah, so it's same as anything zakah. 2.5% is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained me and you to do. But I can give 3%, but 2.5% with the need of zakah, and that 0.5% for what? Inshallah, charity, sadaqah. All right? Not to confuse and say, okay, you look, I feel super spiritual now and close to God, so I want to give 4%. That is not allowed. But it's allowed in what sense? Okay, here, I'm giving you 2.5 zakah, and then this 1.5 is what? Sadaqah. But the other one, if I do 4%, then it's going to be, that's the real bid'ah. So it's good for you to, it's absolutely good, it's actually good for you to specify so that it can meet the requirements of whom they give. If you just say it's charity, sadaqah, they can put it in the electricity bill, they can put it in whatever it is. But if you say it's zakah specific, then they're going to, maybe they have a zakah program and they're going to distribute to the zakah recipient only. But if you say it's general, then it can go to salary of the staff and all these things. Then it's actually, I'll say, you should declare it, meaning you should say what is the intent for. And in the masajid they have, if you go on the website, they have sadaqah, zakah, and all these things you can click. Or if it's a box, the masajid they have written sadaqah, zakah, or etc, etc. So now, one of the zakah, the other zakah is rarely do we find ourselves paying them. Maybe we don't meet the nisab, or maybe the howl doesn't reach, and all this, or we are not in trade good business and all these things, or we don't have agricultural produce, we don't have livestock. Then a lot of us, the rest of the discussions, really in its core, it doesn't require us to think much about it because we don't fulfill the requirements, okay? But this one now here, every single year, is due upon us, and this is something that we all pay and must pay, okay? So at what is the obligatory conditions now for this zakatul fitr? And this is during the month of Ramadan, okay, good? So what is the condition? As always, Islam. So if I am a Muslim, I have to give it. Secondly, sun has set on the last day of Ramadan. So Ramadan has ended today. So actually, the moment that I'm supposed to eligible to give is from now up to, before I do what? Before the Eid prayer. I have that duration. Now, but the question comes now, for logistical reasons, can I pay in advance? Meaning, the Ramadan started today, I'm going to pay the first day of Ramadan, so that I don't forget. Right? I'm too busy, I travel and all these things. There's a lot of things that is in my mind. So you know what, I just want to get it out of the way. And it's nowadays easier. We know the masajid, as they have made it easier, they tell us, okay, the zakatul fitr this year is $15. Right? So I have to give $15. Right? Again, it's the Shafi'i school, what is preferred? Yeah. So, on the person has provision in excess of his, so these are the conditions that.
Did you answer the question?
Eh?
Did you answer that?
Which one?
Whether you can give it before. Did you say the answer?
How?
Can you give it before?
Yes.
You can.
Yes, you can. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you can. It's not in form of a question, it's form of an explanation. So now, that is another condition. Another condition is that I have for me, and I have a little bit to share, of which all of us are. Alhamdulillah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to increase us. And anyone who is our dependent, so that my wife, my children, my parents, grandparents, all these people, then I, as the head of the household, I am required to pay for each head, not as per family, not $15 per family, $15 per each head, right? Including the child who was born right now, right now. So I have family of 3, 15 times 3 is what? 45.
Even if they have their own money?
Huh?
Even if they have their own money?
Yeah, even if they have their own money, the household head gives it. Yes.
So if you live in a household and you're not the head of the household, then you don't have to pay it.
So this is the thing. The person who has the ability to pay will pay, but yeah.
And so they'll be paid twice for that person then?
No.
Like if the wife works and she makes a lot of money.
Yes.
But the husband
Doesn't work.
household,
Yeah, she has to pay for him too, inshallah.
No, he works too.
Oh yeah.
So he's the head of the household, but she works. I'm saying so she pays for herself.
No. The husband's payment for her is enough.
So she doesn't pay.
She doesn't pay.
Okay.
But now you reverse the circumstance now. The husband is not able to pay, but the wife works and she meets the condition. Guess what? She needs to pay at this moment He is a dependent, right or wrong? He's a spouse, he's a dependent. So she will pay for $15, mashallah. Right? Good.
Will he owe, is that a debt that he has to pay her back for?
Is that a debt that he has to pay her back? I have to think about that.
Okay.
That's a great question. Yeah? No, but Aslan, the financial obligation is on the husband. Right, Aslan, the question is an excellent question. The financial obligation is on the husband. Now that she enabled him to elevate his responsibility, is he now going to be in debt for that responsibility? Excellent question. I need to think about it, inshallah.
And inshallah, the $15 won't be too hard for him to pay back, inshallah.
So we said it can be given beginning of Ramadan and any time during the Eid prayer. Right? I can give it any time. Meaning, as soon as Ramadan kicks in, up to before I pray, I can give it. Usually, in our cultural habits, we usually do in the last 10 days and we usually wait for on the 27th night. Usually. People, inshallah, they say, okay, inshallah, I'll give it on this day. Inshallah, it falls on the day of Laylatul Qadr. That is the usual cultural norm of how people usually give Zakat al-Fitr. And you give one sa of their what? And Shafi must be what? I paid in kind of the local staple food. What is the local staple food of America? McDonald's? Rice? Khalas. We're going to give one sa. In Kenya, it's one sa. Actually, in Kenya, they give it in kind. They either give it in dates or rice or flour. Yeah.
Yes, right. It wouldn't be bread, it would be like wheat or flour.
Wheat. Actually, not the final product. Its original state. The grain. So that's what they're going to give. No one gives it in monetary value. Here, they give it in monetary value. Another question is that they usually get, should I give it to my local or should I send it back home? Preferably local, but if there's more need, and you know specific people, then good. Any questions so far? What time is it? 7? Good, we're good in time. Any questions? So next, so Zakat al-Fitr, I'll be waiting in line. I want to see you all bring me in kind. Bring it to the masjid. See how that goes. Okay. Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Quran, anyone wants to read? إنما الصدقات للفقراء. Okay. إنما الصدقات. Sadaqah. What is sadaqah? So sadaqah is zakat? Generally. What is sadaqah? Generally. Without going there fast.
Just charity.
Charity, right? Something extra that I give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Good. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here that sadaqah, innama sadaqat, you see, he says sadaqah. للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليه والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين فيه وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة. Now it's what? إنما الصدقات. What is the hukum of sadaqah? Generally. Don't go there first. Generally. What is the hukum of sadaqah? What is the ruling on charity? Recommended. Allah Ta'ala is telling you it's obligatory. How can you reconcile that? فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. Alms tax is only for the poor and the needy, for those employed to administer it, for those whose hearts are attached to the faith, for freeing slaves, for those in debt, for Allah's cause, and for needy travelers. This is an obligation from Allah. Innama sadaqat is an obligation. So how do we understand that this sadaqah here meant zakah? One is the context of the ayah, right? So now in usul al-fiqh sometimes you have what the ayah has, the ayah itself, we have the text. That can be the ayah, that can be the hadith, whatever, we have the text. And now we have the mantuq of the text, what the text exactly says verbatim. That sadaqah is obligatory. Or we have something called mafhum, the understanding and extrapolation of the text. Good. Now, the text is going to tell me whether I will use the verbatim, the actual literal meaning, or I will use an inferred meaning. When can I use one or the other? One, the context. Right? The context. That can be the context of the ayah, the context of the hadith. Either the context can be given by the ayah in and of itself, إنما الصدقات للفقراء until the end, and it's faridah. Now the question is, the context now here, we look at the verse, we say, okay, is sadaqah an obligation? All of us will agree, no. Then we have to look at this verse and say, okay, in what can we interpret sadaqah to be? So the early scholars, what they did is that they will first collect, they do something called istiqra, comprehensive analysis, whatever it is. So they will collect every single usage of the word sadaqah in the kitab and the sunnah. And they will say, okay, how was this word used? When was it used as zakah? And when was it used as sadaqah? Sadaqah to be mean sadaqah, or when was it used to zakah to be zakah? Then they will collect all this data, and from the data now they will bring that, now they will say, okay, now based on the data that we have, now this here, we will not take the literal understanding, but we will take the inferred meaning. Right? So that is why, now that's how usul al-fiqh, the scholars will make it work. And now they are going to interpret this. That means that indeed zakah, and then we have the 8 categories and recipients of zakah. And that is one, the context, and then the final ruling. And then the final ruling of that specific thing. Everyone understood that? Right? And that's why Imam Al-Ghazali, when he says usul al-fiqh is the most important science, one is bias, is a Shafi'i. Right? Shafi'is, we codified usul al-fiqh in a sense.
You say Imam Ghazali said that?
Yeah, Imam Ghazali, he says there's 4 things in usul al-fiqh that is essential, which I'll explain. But this is a very fundamental science. Okay?
He said it's the most important science, he said that?
Yeah, it's the most important science.
More than Aqidah.
It's the most important science. It's the most important science. I'll explain why. Because in usul al-fiqh, you will use all the sciences that there is. Here you will use ilm al-kalam. Here you will use mantiq. Here you will use tafsir. Here you will use mustal al-hadith, usul al-hadith. You will use the Arabic language. Right? Usul al-fiqh, you're going to use each and every single science. In terms of studying and in terms of its essential important use, usul al-fiqh is the most important science. The most important science for us to learn first and prioritize is aqidah. Why? Because it's my faith. So that is totally 2 different things that now we're mixing together. One, for me to learn and understand, and for me as a general statement to say which science is better than the other. Right? So usul al-fiqh is the most important science. Why? It encompasses all the sciences. And Imam al-Ghazali summarizes usul al-fiqh in 4. He says usul al-fiqh, all this usul al-fiqh you're talking about, talks about only 4 things. 1 is going to talk about the dalil. What is the evidences that we use? Is it the Quran? Is it the Sunnah? Is it the ijma'? Is it called the consensus? Is it analogy? Is it the understanding of the Sahaba? Right? Or is it the legislation of the people of the past? Right? Is it the continuity and all these things? Or is it jurisdictional preference? Right? All of these things can be a source, 1. 2, he says the dilala. What does this evidence, the dalil of what we mentioned, what does it tell me? What does it inform me? That's the second thing, called dilala. The third thing is the hukum, the ruling, right? And the ruling is categorized into 2 major rulings. What are they? People who study usul al-fiqh. Al-hukum is divided into 2 in usul al-fiqh. No. Hukum al-wad' and hukum al-shara'i. The hukum al-shara'i is the 5 that we know. The obligatory, recommended, permissible, discouraged, or disliked, and prohibited. These are the 5 we call hukum al-shara'i. And the hukum al-wad'i is 7, but we more so 5. Is the cause, a sabab, the condition, a shart, al-mani, something that prevents, like mani, preventative or something like that. I don't know how to translate it. Mani, and then what else? Sahih, like valid, and then fasid. Fasid. How do you translate fasid? Invalid. But there's a specific term that the translation that they use. It's something like that. But invalid. Let's say invalid. Right? So these are going to be hukumul wada'. And this is going to work in hand and is going to influence hukumul shara' and all these things. And then the last one Imam al-Ghazali mentioned is al-mujtahid. The individual now who is going to use all these things, the dilala, the dalil, the hukum al-shari, the guy who is the engineer behind all these things. So Imam al-Ghazali summarizes usul al-fiqh into what? Those 4 things. Your entire study of usul al-fiqh is going to revolve on those 4 things. Now, let's go back to fiqh. Right? But is there any questions here? So all these categories Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning are the people who are recipient for zakah. And in the Shafi'i school, it's a Burma, that you have to give your zakah, you have to distribute it to all of them. You have to divide it and distribute to all of them. Somebody will say, okay, what if we don't have some of the categories? You don't have the sum of the categories. Right? There's no the categories, but you have to give to the categories that exist, and you have to distribute amongst them. Is that practical in reality, in today's world? Is it practical? In our modern day America, right now, here we are. I have to give zakah of $20 right now.
Was it? I mean, respectfully, was it ever practical? I mean, say if it's not practical today, that seems like that would be difficult at any time. I don't know.
Maybe it's possible during that time. Maybe they know the need. The Wizaratul Awqaf can know. Okay. He has the register of these different categories. It can be very practical in terms of, right, you go to Wizaratul Awqaf of that village, they have the registry of this person meets this category, this person meets this category. Then when you go and give your zakat to Wizaratul Awqaf, they're going to distribute it evenly to those people. It's very possible past. I'm talking about today. It's very difficult. Let me say, you guys first say that. As a Shafi'i, I will say this. It's difficult. Right? And that is why now when we say we are Shafi'is, or anyone claims they are Shafi'i, or they are Hanafi, or they are Maliki, or they are whatever they are, it doesn't mean that they follow and apply everything 100%. Because there's sometimes that you'll come into that roadblock, that your madhab says this, but how practical is it for me to implement it? Even though it's my madhab, and I am loyal and right, and I follow my madhab, but does it mean every single thing? And that is one clear example that I'm showing you. If somebody says I'm a Shafi, it's not every single thing that they follow. But the majority, 85% or 80% of the fiqh that I use, two, the tools and the methodology that I use is what? Shafi. That makes me what? Shafi. All right? Excellent. Any questions? But now for you all, you need to, especially, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now eight categories. Implement that. 8 categories, all of them. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's not about the ayah, it's about what you said about not sticking to the madhab 100%. Like I once had a teacher say, like, if you're mixing madhabs, then you could invalidate your acts of worship. And the example she gave was like wudu and salah. So if you make wudu in one madhab and then pray the salah in another, because like some of them you don't have to wipe the whole head, or like you only wipe 1/3, I guess. I forget which one it was. And then like you pray, and for example for a woman, she doesn't cover her feet. So it's the Hanafi way of praying, but then because she's not covering her feet, but then she made wudu, like let's say the Shafi'i way. She said your prayer didn't count because your wudu didn't count.
I'll tell you one thing. What is the hukum? This all scenario is called talfiq. What is the hukum of talfiq? Mixing madhabs. It's discouraged. No haram. It's discouraged. Okay, good. Let's take another step forward. If something is discouraged, does it ever mean that my action is going to be incorrect or is going to be invalid? No, absolutely not. I can make my wudu. The problem of talfiq now, the scholars are going to have an issue with you, is when you make talfiq in the same worship. Meaning, you gave me 2 worships. There's wudu, there's ghusl, there's the prayer, and. There's different components. So, we don't have to mix all the components. Now we're going to look at each and every single thing by itself. Right? And the Shafi'i scholars like to using it. It's something that they borrow from logic. There's something called Al-Jihah Munfaka. That sometimes you have one mas'ala, one piece of scenario, but within it is actually, there's compartments to it. And we need to yes, that one. We need to make it like that so that we can look at each and every single deed. Now, if you made your wudu as a Hanafi, Jami' al-Ras, right? Or Maliki. Or you guys?
It's the fourth for the Hanafi.
Yes. For Malikis are Jami' al-Ras. Or you made your wudu as a Maliki. Complete. Right? I made my complete hair. But I can go and pray my prayer as a Maliki, as a Shafi'i. Meaning what? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Those are totally 2 different things, and both can be independently what? Valid. So if somebody says otherwise, Allah Ta'ala bless them, but as a Shafi'i, that is an incorrect inference. Right? Well, that's an incorrect inference. Maybe the madhab that they follow says that you cannot do talfiq. But it's impossible. Allah bless them. Allah bless them. But the default ruling itself of talfiq is discouragement. And some scholars say permissibility.
Like in Pakistan, India, this issue is like infamous. Like I've heard people tell me that like if you mix madhabs, you're following your nafs and you're not following the Quran.
That can be true, but we have to sometimes, that's why I say always, not even me, scholars say, fiqh al-waqi is very important. The fiqh of reality is extremely important. What is reality? Reality is my circumstance and my situation and what my dominant culture is. I cannot bring the Kenyan Shafi'i madhab and try to impose on people here. That's not how fatwas work, that's not how fiqh works. That's why Imam Shafi'i has an old madhab and a new madhab for a reason. Then we will say, okay, Imam Shafi'i was following his hawa, he was following his desire. Because when he went to Egypt, he completely changed his madhab, except in 3 issues, 113. So we'll say Imam Shafi'i followed his desire. Then such conclusion really academically don't hold water. But for you to encourage people to bring unity, then I can understand. And say, okay, yeah, it's good, we shouldn't do that, right? Because what? What is your goal? You want unity of people so that people are conformed to one understanding, so that it can be easier to bring that unity and etc. But as a general blanket statement, I think it's a very problematic statement, right? But madhab is another thing that we forget, and it's disliked for you to tell the people that you're giving them as zakah. Why? Huh? Man, you need. So, well, how is it rude? I'm helping you. Yeah. It's the scholars here, maybe it can be rude depending on the cultural context, but they say you're going to break their heart. And what is the maqsad? The opposite, to make people happy. So, mashallah, I have a gift for you. What is your intention? Zakah. It's like, I have something very special for you. Take this. I remembered you today. Take this. In your heart, you know it's 2.5%, sir. Allah bless you, but yeah.
I feel like that's a situation whenever you give somebody charity, like it'd be the same thing, any sort of charity.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it would always be disliked because how is zakat different from any sort of charity? The person, you're giving money to like a poor person. I don't know.
It's different because of the knee, ana. I'm the one who's putting the knee and giving. For the moment I'm giving, I know that I'm giving this as a zakah or I'm giving this as a general charity. That is why what is important? A niyyah. When is it going to be distinguished? This is the niyyah.
Oh no, I'm saying the person receiving it.
Yeah.
If they know you're giving them money because they're poor, I mean, like in charity.
He's trying to say it's given in a good way, brother.
Yeah, it's going to be different. Not like if for zakah, like, yeah, I'm giving you zakah, meaning that you fulfill only it's very limited. I can give my charity to him. He can be a millionaire. Bro, I have this for you. Charity.
I mean, we don't give charity to millionaires. I feel you.
I can.
He's trying to say like giving them like
I can.
with a good.
Culturally, it doesn't have the same weight.
I understand.
Culturally, it doesn't have the same weight. Me giving you zakah and you giving me sadaqah, it doesn't have the same weight. Right? Who are ineligible, meaning I cannot give to this category. MashaAllah, my brother millionaire, I can't. I'm sorry. Non-Muslims. Sometimes you have families and very common questions. Oh, can I give it to my family? No. Sadaqah, I can. But what if they are on the verge of accepting Islam? They become a different category of what? Mu'allafatul qulub, actually, they're actually Muslims who are Muslims, but Muslims, but
In the middle, yeah.
yes. So that doesn't apply. Number 2, dependents. Anyone, children, grandchildren, right? Spouse, no, I can't. And the prophetic household, Al-Bayt. And in the Shafi'i school, what time is it? 7:23. And in the Shafi'i school, Al-Bayt is defined as any person who is from Bani Hashim and Bani al-Muttalib. So they don't receive zakah. Ahlul Bayt. Madhab definition. Prophetic definition is totally different.
Wealthy, does that mean somebody who has the nisab? Like how do you define it?
Wealthy is somebody who can sustain themselves. An individual who can sustain themselves. They are not poor, they are not needy. Meaning that, for example, maybe I don't reach the nisab, but guess what? I can afford 3 meals a day. I am wealthy. Unlike the poor, who doesn't afford that, right?
So you might still be considered like kind of poor to most people, but for zakat purposes, you're not eligible.
Yeah.
Because you just have enough money to pay your basic.
Yes, I have enough to pay my basic need, then I'm no longer poor.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Okay. And that brings us to an end of our 1+ year journey. And today, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the end of Shafi'i Fiqh. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us understanding. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in beneficial knowledge. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to put this in our scales of good deeds. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our parents. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on our parents. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate our parents. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us as a means of guidance for other people. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for our shortcomings. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us goodness in this life. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us goodness in our barzakh. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us goodness the day that we meet Him. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us His love. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the love of His beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us love of those who He loves. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the love of those things He loves, Ya Rabbal Alameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep those love within our heart. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep iman within our heart, Ya Rabbal Alameen. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep iman within our progeny. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of our teachers. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله سبحانك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.